Welcome from the Diversity of Urban Art. We're recording a podcast right now from Winter Park, Florida. My name is Kathleen Brodeur. I'm a fine artist. I live here in Winter Park, Florida with my husband Edson Campos, who's also a fine artist. I'm here today to talk about my painting. It's called The Garden of Love. It's a very important painting for me. Before I talk about this, I want to talk a little bit about myself. I grew up in Monroe, Connecticut. I've always been interested in the arts. I've been doing art since I was very young. Then we moved to Florida and I studied at Florida State University. My first love was photography, so a lot of my paintings are based on photographs that I have taken through my travels, and then I paint my emotional connection with the photograph, and that becomes this painting. Right now we have some work in some galleries, and I'm doing oil paintings, and my technique is with a palette knife. And this painting is important because this is a scene in Paris. This was the first time that Edson had taken me to Paris. It was in 2005, and it was in January, and it was cold, but it was still beautiful. I think everyone should go to Paris, especially an artist. There's so much to see. There's the d'Orsay, the Louvre, the Rodin Museum, and this is the Luxembourg Gardens, and this is one of our favorite places in Paris. This painting, I love color, and don't ever be afraid of color. For this painting, when you look at the trees and everything, it's not just tree is brown, the grass is green. There's so many colors in a painting, and in real life, in nature. You have to go out and just study nature. And this tree, it's actually red and green, and I mix together and I get the dark colors, and that's red and green mixed together. And the light is actually light green. It's not like brown, and it's so important to mix with the colors correctly so you don't get real dirty colors. And I do that with the palette knife. It's a small little knife, I don't know if you can see it, but I can create a lot of texture, and I get a lot of control using this knife, and I can mix the colors right on the canvas. I'll just mix a few colors together and I blend it right on the canvas. And here, the building, I actually used a lot of purple and yellow. I like to do that, either red and green or the yellow and purple. And for me, the beauty of this whole painting is in the reflection. If you really look at the reflection, and the way I create that is water is always moving. So when you look at water, it's never standing still, ever. So in order to create this motion, you have to kind of move the palette knife as if it's flowing through water, like visualize yourself that it's moving, and that's how I create that. Here the building is more solid and stands still, so it has more of a solid feeling to it. But the water, I just love water, so you just watch water, and you have to be real important to look at the, when you look at a reflection, it's actually a little darker than the actual sky. So you want to make the water a little bit darker than the sky. And also right in here, this is one of the most important parts of this painting, is this light right here coming through, because you really don't realize this is a pot where usually has flowers in there, but the light is coming through and you see more of it down here, but that's what gives the painting a lot more depth instead of having just complete dark. And also in the shadows, don't just cover everything dark, because that's going to make everything flat. If you really pay attention to the shadows, there are so many colors in the shadows. It's not just dark. I have green, I have indigo blue, Prussian blue. I mean, I mix so many different colors in there to create the shadow. So when you look far away, that's what gives it this more realistic feel to it. But this is a very important painting to me, because that's what started it all for me. This really changed my technique and how I paint right now, because I used to use a brush and a little palette knife, but not complete palette knife. And this is one of those paintings that just changes your life. And plus that I first met my husband, and that was so important. And to go to Paris, and every time we just love to go to Paris. We try to go there as often as we can. thank you for this opportunity to speak today at the podcast. Please come visit us again. Thank you.